I'm too sexy for you, and this video is primarily going to be a response to text comments by YouTube user Sorrian. Now, just to bring everybody up to speed, YouTube user JD Laporte had recently posted a video containing 10 questions to answer that would determine whether or not the person who was answering the questions was a liberal or a conservative. Number 1. Taxes should be kept low because you can spend your money more wisely than the government can. Now, taxes are required to keep the government afloat. Taxes should be used, in my opinion, only to support the programs the government has the constitutional authority to enact in the first place. Meanwhile, what we see is the government going beyond their responsibility in their spending habits and their taxing habits. I believe it's their responsibility to spend fairly, wisely, and not in a hidden manner while they bring to fruition what I would guess are hidden agendas. Number 2, the primary job of the government is to secure the safety of its people. Most of these questions you'll find are a damned if you do, damned if you don't when you answer them. They're open-ended. You know, Benjamin Franklin had said, "Those who sacrifice liberty for security deserve neither." So when the question was, do I think that the government, that their responsibility is to secure the safety of its people? I would wonder if your idea of the government providing the citizens with safety is by creating organizations such as the Department of Homeland Security, when they're basically given unchecked authority, or FEMA. Well, there you go again, unchecked authority. Or perhaps your idea of safety for the people would be the Crime Bill of 1994. Have you ever even read it? You know, I'd be willing to bet 99.99% of our senators didn't read it either. Is that your idea of security for the people? To number 3, you support the military even when it's not popular. Once again, a loaded question, because along with the support of the military comes the support of the government. And again, their fraudulent spending. Care to guess where your tax dollars go? Like with AEY, General Dynamics, Boeing, Halliburton. Welcome to the American way. No, I do not support our military in the decisions that they make. Do I support the troops, the idiots that go in there and just wave their flags around as if they're freedom-loving Americans? Well, I could support them all the way back home. Number 4, America doesn't owe you anything. Yes, America does owe me something. They owe me abidance by the Constitution. Those are the rules of the game that the government is supposed to even exist in the first place under. They do owe me something. 5, the free market, while not perfect, is by far the best system. Capitalism and the free market are not the same thing. They are not. All you have to do is look around, and in our capitalistic society, see all the red tape, see all the unequal laws, all the loopholes for those that are in the know, provided you're part of their exclusive club in the first place. Privileged corporations who legally get away with theft. So no, the free market is not a perfect system, because what you're referring to is capitalism, and capitalism is a farce. Number 6, a person is ultimately responsible for his actions, not society. Well, of course people are responsible for their own actions. They're not only responsible for their actions, but they're responsible for their inactions. In today's society, we're pressed with either conform or resist. Now, oftentimes, resistance involves, the exercising of liberties that at one time were considered constitutionally protected, but would be deemed criminal today. The 7th question was, people should be free to live however they want, as long as it doesn't adversely affect others. Well, you're damn straight. Be sure you keep that in mind when state secessions start occurring. Number 8, the Constitution is not a living document that should be changed routinely. Well, it's real easy to make a leap here. That if the Constitution is not a living document, it must therefore be dead. And dead is what it is. Should it be changed? It shouldn't have to be, but obviously we need to change it. It should be changed. It should be completely rewritten so there's absolutely no confusion on anybody's part. After all, let's take the Second Amendment for an example. I read English quite well, and I'm very well aware of what the term shall not be infringed means. But obviously there are those in Congress, and in the courts for that matter, who can't seem to grasp those simple 4 words. So I guess it needs to be rewritten so there can be no confusion. Number 9. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land for governing America. Well, it's supposed to be, but it obviously isn't. Number 10. You like to help others, but you want to do so how and when you choose. I like to help other people, but I like to help other people who will in turn help other people as well, and not just take their handouts and say thank you very much. I also like to help people who will actually stand up and help themselves. Now, a little bit on to J.D. Laporte. I posed questions to him at one point in time, and he turned around and deleted all of his answers. He didn't have a hair on his ass. He didn't have the sack it took to respond to very basic and simple questions. True to a typical politician. I also swore an oath, J.D. Laporte, and I know who the real enemy in America is. Do you? I think you do, and I think you're working for them. Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals, as they're labeled, are two sides of the exact same coin, and it is time for third options. Now on to the comments that were made by Sorrian. When we were discussing terrorists, I had asked him who created many of these groups in the first place, and why do these groups allegedly hate the U.S.? It'd take a moron to believe that they hate the U.S. because of our freedom, our non-existent freedom. What have we done to provoke attacks? Play the role reversal game and conclude what you would do if scenarios were reversed. To which Sorrian had paraphrased I'm paraphrasing in a response. To which Sorrian had responded, unless you consider the fact it's a crossroads for terrorists, harbored terrorists, funneled money to terrorists, and he said I wouldn't address the issue head on. Well, I will address the issue head on. What you call a terrorist, they would call a freedom fighter. Once again, you need to demonstrate the legalities behind our even being in their country in the first place. Our reasons for invading were unlawful. The Iraqis and the Afghans are repelling invaders. People who have unjustly invaded their land and killed their people. All for what? For lies. We have far worse terrorists right here within our own borders, and they conduct their treasonous activities from within the confines of law on the floors of the House and the Congress. Now I'm going to conclude by saying that the wars being conducted right now in the Middle East are without a doubt in my mind illegal. Not only the war itself, but the way it's being conducted. The U.S. invasion was based upon falsified intelligence that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction that don't even exist. We bring our farce of a governing system to the doorsteps of the world at the barrel of a gun, and that is tyranny. Those who were so ignorant to believe the so-called conservative propaganda that these terrorists hate us because we're free, what a joke. Do you honestly think they just woke up and said, hey, let's hate America because they're free? Have you any idea just how retarded that sounds? But wouldn't you imagine that our mere presence in someone else's land when we're killing their people would make them a bit uneasy, to say the least? And that perhaps our support of their enemies would also tend to make them a wee bit upset?